Well, this is another Good Business podcast from the Digital Business News Network. I'm delighted to be here with WildTrax today. So let's find out who we're speaking to on the podcast.
Yeah, my name is Craig Dutton. I'm one of the directors of WildTrax.
Hi, I'm Cherie Dutton, Craig's wife, and I joined about a year after him, and I handle all the operations and oversee that, and Craig's right-hand man, I suppose.
More like my boss, but anyway.
Well, thanks for joining us to share your journey and a bit more about your business. At the Good Business podcast, we believe that people are at the heart of good business, so we want to hear about more about both of you and what you've been up to. What's influenced you most in your career, would you say, Craig?
I think personally, I am influenced by my work environment, and I strive for a fun, relaxed work environment. I can't say that I have any people that have influenced that, but I most certainly, everything I do needs to be fun, enjoyable, and if I've achieved that, I'm happy.
And Cherie, what motivates you most in the business?
I think what motivates or has influenced my career over the last 20 years or so has been probably Craig. I kind of follow in his direction, and kind of together we've always worked together. I think since we've been together, and I think one thing he's failed to mention, and what's landed us in this environment working with Land Rovers, is that his blood runs green. He's always had a passion for Land Rovers, and I think that's what's got us where we are today, really.
Well, you're obviously, you're talking about that magnetic force that Craig's put into place. So tell us a bit about your journey to where you are now.
Yeah, well, it's a fairly long one, and I'll keep it brief. But I've been my own business owner for some time now. For most of my working career, I did everything from I had an irrigation company, a computer cabling company, I did a coffee shop. But for the most part, I have been a photographer for the last 20 years, a professional photographer. But part of that involved doing some work with Land Rovers. I started doing a book on Land Rovers, which prompted us to talk about doing a festival on Land Rovers, and then we created this event called Landy Festival in South Africa, which was a massive success from day one. And then, as a photographer, I moved to the UK. Well, I moved to Europe originally to be closer to the work that I was doing. Then found myself in the UK after a while, still doing photography. And then COVID hit, and the wheels fell off all the events that we were doing just in an instant.
Well, I think you had met WildTrax, sorry for interrupting, when you did a shoot for Land Rover Monthly magazine, and you hired a WildTrax Defender. Yeah,
that's so true. So we hired one of their vehicles. We went out. We did a photo shoot for the magazine. That's how I met James Monday, who's the other director of this business. And then James contacted me out of the blue in the middle of COVID and said, would you know anybody who might want to run my business? And it was an easy decision to make, and here I am now. At that stage I was employed as the general manager, and most recently I've now become a director of the business. So it's been an interesting walk, but most certainly it's all moved in the same direction, and it all revolves around my work life and fun and games.
And I understand you've recently expanded the business a bit. Tell us a bit more about the new portfolio and what's been happening.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird how it came about, because we've always been one of the forerunners of our type of business within the UK. We certainly have the largest fleet, and we have a few competitors out there. One of the main competitors was Highland Defenders. They were based down in Aviemore, and we discovered that they were considering closing up shop. We decided that we absolutely needed to get their business into our portfolio to become officially the biggest and most untouchable business. it's not only about that, but having a bigger business for us in terms of vehicles has helped us to become more of a better service operator for our guests. As I've mentioned to you before, we don't send our entire fleet out. We keep a vehicle or two vehicles behind as backup vehicles, just to make sure that if a vehicle breaks down for whatever reason, that we can service our guests. And this expansion or this acquisition has most certainly enabled that.
That's quite a high standard of customer service, isn't it? To have a vehicle on standby.
That's our number one priority, is customer service. Above all else, for us, the customer experience is the most important thing. And being able to help a guest who's stuck in the middle of nowhere to go, don't worry, we've got another vehicle coming, and help them out. And we've got guests returning today who that exact thing happened. They had to have a swap out yesterday, and they were so delighted. They thought it meant the end of their trip, end of their holiday, when in fact they could carry on with their adventure. And
that must make such a difference. So what else can we expect to see from WildTrax in the next couple of years?
We actually had a meeting about this earlier this week, and what came out of our meeting was that we have done an extremely good job of positioning ourselves where we are at the moment, but we have most certainly identified that we have competitors in the market. Those competitors are in the form of smaller operators who've seen our success and want a part of it, and who wouldn't, because it's an amazing business to be involved with. But there are a lot of people out there that are buying their own rooftop tents, and that essentially becomes part of our competition as well. So moving on from here, WildTrax and Highland Defenders is going to be more of an adventure company. We want our vehicles to be a vehicle for adventure. So we will do paddleboard rental out with our vehicles, but not only rental, we want to show people where to go, what to do, how to do it. We want to be more experiential. We want to have experience-led trips with guides in our vehicles. So we'll have 5 vehicles. A group of 5 vehicles will be taken out with a guide. And we'll do campsite cooking, and it will be far more experiential than just grabbing a vehicle from us and heading out and not knowing where to go and what to do and how to get the best out of the Highland experience.
It evokes thoughts of a kind of wagon train and circling the wagons around the campfire and so on.
What we found is when we've gone out with friends or family, or even guests who are returning for a second year, and then they bring their friends, they become the tour guides, and the people who go along as the add-ons to the tour guides, if you want to call it that, have an amazing time. They say it's so awesome to just go out there and not have to worry, are we going left, are we going right, where are we camping, what are we doing? And they say it's so awesome to just go with someone who knows where to go and what to see and have that experience, and that we want to start sort of branching out into more of an experienced group excursion.
And clearly taking that kind of decision is, grasping innovation, and that's something you're doing to kind of change the business. What role does innovation play in the heart of WildTrax and the business?
It has been a huge role, and innovation, innovation and technology has played a massive role in our business to help us streamline our processes within the business. There's a heck of a lot of paperwork that needs to be done on these vehicles or on the rentals. We have to do a lot of person vetting to make sure that the insurances are okay with them taking out our vehicles. And in the past it was very labor intensive, but we've streamlined that through adoption of technology and
developing our own systems, digital systems, to be able to streamline every process within the business.
Yeah, and not only streamlining, but also double checking, making sure that the people who are packing the vehicles are packing the right thing for every guest. Because whilst we have a base product of what we pack in a vehicle, there are certain things extra that people may take, and we need to make sure that that's there. The most embarrassing thing is to go through a vehicle and they go, "Oh, where's our barbecue? Oh, sorry, we forgot." There's no forgetting. It's in there.
You've got to make sure it's all set up for
Yeah.
people. Hey, you're talking there about sense quality, customer service, etc., innovation. Is there a vision that drives your business? And if so, how do you get the people who work with you to buy into that vision?
This question I sort of crossed my mind earlier today about the vision. And the vision, it's less about a vision from my perspective and more about the whole concept of everyone has got to have fun.
Yeah.
It's got to be a really fun working environment. And it's not only our fun, it's the guests' fun. From the moment guests arrive here, they are ecstatic, they are so excited.
Yeah.
That makes us excited. We get a lot of pleasure out of making sure that every single thing is perfect for them. Because there's no worse experience than a guest climbing into a dirty vehicle or pointing something out, and then that issue finding its way right down to the person who cleaned the vehicle. He doesn't want to know that he did a bad job. So the culture in our organization is just that everyone needs to have a lot of fun. Everyone knows their job. Everyone, there's no messing around, but we're pretty easy around here, and we love seeing people go
And I
off
also
there.
think when our guests come back and they're super happy, that enthusiasm or happiness that feeds through to the team, because they'll come back to the returning team who will then kind of disseminate that and spread the joy amongst everybody else, and then you can feel the vibe just lifts up instantly, and then everybody wants more of that, so everybody strives to achieve that with every guest that goes out.
And how important, just as an aside, you've got all these outdoor vehicles that you can see here in your garage, for want of a better word, and they're all spotlessly clean on the outside as well as the inside. But how do you get people to buy into that? You mentioned that sense of fun. How do you get people to buy into that? I'm talking about your team here.
Yeah, so for the team part of it, like I said before, it's really that nobody wants to feel like they're letting someone else in the team down, because we're all part of a big team here. There's not so much, but there's not so much a hierarchy here, even though there is a hierarchy. There always needs to be a hierarchy of some sort, but everybody's just part of a good team. And if somebody in the team is battling to get something done, somebody else pulls in and helps them. And being part of a team creates that want and desire to just get everything moving forward in the right direction.
So people feel involved here.
Yeah, well, I think everybody who works everyone in our team is part of the process with the guests. So it's not like someone never really deals with the guests because they're always stuck behind a computer, and actually whether the guests are happy or not makes no difference. Everyone at some point will have interaction with the guests, so they want to be a part of that. I've made this as best as I can for that guest experience. And that, I think, was what drives everybody, because everyone has some connection with the guests at some point.
Tell us something interesting about your business that people might not necessarily know already.
From my perspective, it's the fact that we have to keep vehicles back to make sure that we have vehicles that can go out to service the customers where something may go wrong. And people think about a breakdown in a Land Rover, and people think about an engine failure. It can be as simple as an indicator not working or a windscreen wiper that's not working, and that vehicle needs to be replaced or repaired. Repairing on site for us is less ideal because the guest has to sit around waiting for the repair to happen. We would rather just replace the vehicle straight away. And that, I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize that it's actually quite a lot more intensive than just renting vehicles.
Because that's considerable. If it were another type of goods, it would be described as dead stock.
Yes.
That you've got sitting there, just waiting for the need if it appears. And you may have customers that, you probably do 99% of the time, have customers that have no issues, and in the meantime you've got these fabulously expensive vehicles just sitting
around waiting. And every vehicle in our fleet has its week of sitting around. So we'll have a vehicle that may have cost us 15 grand
Yeah.
that's sitting around there, and then we might have the new Defender which cost us 65 grand sitting there earning nothing. And at the end of the day, it's your turn, and it's also the opportunity for us to maintain the vehicles and make sure that they're in tip-top shape.
Okay.
And it's hard because you've got a car sitting here for a week,
Yeah.
and then you get someone who phones and says, "Can I have that week?" Should we? No,
No, you can't do
you
it.
can't. We can't take the risk of someone having a breakdown and then not having that backup car.
Well, that's one way you're mitigating challenges in your business. But what are the, obviously you're operating in the tourism sector, what do you feel are the biggest challenges that are facing the outdoor tourism sector at the moment?
There's so many. It's really a combination of so many things that has happened over the last 2 years. Brexit, COVID, the Ukrainian war have all brought challenges in some way or another. I think from our perspective, the biggest challenge that we talk about all the time is whether or not our type of company can exist in the near future because of the clampdown on informal camping in the Highlands, and it's something we think about a lot, and we're making changes, to make sure that we can now have better relationships with campsites, and potentially even book out campsites for next year where we are guaranteed that our guests can have a place to stay. It's something that weighs heavily on us, because all the challenges that we've had from Brexit, COVID hit us hard, obviously it hit everyone hard, but all the challenges combined haven't really impacted negatively as we sit here today. And the only thing that threatens our existence is whether or not the business can operate in its current state as a vehicle hire company with rooftop tents.
I think from a sort of a slightly different angle, one of the challenges, sort of, I'm more on the admin side of the team, and we get so many guests who want to come, but they don't know where to go. And there's so many negative posts on social media about people going out and exploring the Highlands that it makes people quite scared to come up. Just this week we've had a few people emailing saying, I think I need to cancel because we wanted to come and explore and enjoy the wilderness of Scotland, but everything on Facebook is saying don't do it. So now we're having to reassure them that they can still have the adventure, and there are campsites. If they don't want to or they can't informal camp, there are amazing campsites out there that give you that wild feeling, but you're still in a proper campsite. So it's trying to overcome that challenge and still get our guests to understand that they can still have an epic adventure in our vehicles.
And I suppose the fact that something has now become so successful that people are really invested in this area, again in terms of spending their leisure time, that does lead to problems of capacity growth and things like that. And you're talking about getting the message out there. We all know that marketing is really important for businesses. How do you market your business?
Well, that's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because it changes and it varies, but we do an email shot like everybody else, but we do a lot of our marketing would be from Instagram, and it is our big thing, obviously, and then Facebook. But Instagram we find is our probably our biggest platform that we market on. When I started, one of the things I started doing was taking photos of guests just before they head off, and putting it on our social and tagging them, and that for us just worked wonders. And people love it. People want. We have guests coming out going, can you take my picture and put it on your Instagram? Yeah, no problem. And we get people. We had a couple recently who got engaged on their trip. We get that a lot. And he's just emailed saying, please could you send me that photo of when we set off because we want it for our album. So that for us is using the people to market for us, if you want to say that, because they then go out there and share their experience, and all their friends say, wow, that's awesome, we want to do the same thing. So yeah, that's probably our biggest.
Yeah, definitely that and influences and word of mouth, but that comes back to social media side of things. People go out, they take photographs, put it on Instagram, their friends see it. We ask the question, how did you come to hear of us? Oh no, our friends went and we saw photographs of it.
Craig, you talked about the pandemic a little while ago. That's obviously forced many people to make changes in the workplace. It's a tourism business. I'm sure that, as you've said, you and your team felt the impact of that. What did that period of time make you reflect on? What did it force you to change, do you feel? What impact did it have on the way you look at your business?
Well, what it allowed us to do, I think it was first lockdown, second lockdown, I can't recall now. But because we had downtime, we were closed for this business, it allowed us to reboot our website and our booking system. So although we weren't having to come in, it then gave us the time to look at the website, give it an overhaul, implement a new booking system which worked better for us, and put in new systems in place so that when we were able to open, we could open with a bang and smoother and run better.
Actually, did it also change your thinking about how you engage with your customers online?
No, our business has been an online business from the start, so it
didn't really make any changes?
No, I don't think COVID in any way changed the way this business, the pandemic changed the way this business operates. It just, if anything, helped us streamline things and make
the first year, what was interesting was obviously because no one could travel abroad, our UK customer base was huge, and last year, and then 2022, it's been really interesting to see, because I started sort of post-COVID, first COVID, if you want to call it that, and I didn't get the experience of the foreign guests, but now this 2022, when the foreign guests can come back, it's amazing to see how many foreign guests we actually do get. So I think that was quite big, is to see the difference, and the market that we have is not just UK based, and the type of UK customers that we were getting versus the foreign customer. I would almost go say we get a lot of guests from the Netherlands, obviously, because they can fly direct to Inverness, and most of them who come are very adventure based people, whereas we find with last year we got a lot of guests coming up from London who were city folk, never been adventurous or outdoorsy, and were coming to us because we provide such an inclusive package. You just bring your food and clothes, everything else is provided. You could fly from London, never having camped before, and have an awesome experience. So it's quite interesting to see how the difference in our customer base has been over the 2 years.
And earlier on, again, you were talking about how your team will interact and work, and everybody's involved in the experience. Tell us a bit more about that team of people you've got working with. What do you do to, who are they first of all, and what do you do to promote their skills and develop them?
That's where I fell short on that one of those questions that you were gonna or that you posed first. So we are a small team, and from a skills development perspective, we put one of our guys onto a car washing course, so to speak, just to try and get him to see the holistic view that car washing is not just soap and water. And
there's a skill to it.
Yeah, there's absolutely skill to it. And the skill, again, comes back to the fact that we absolutely need to hand this vehicle over without any evidence of any human ever being in there. And it's quite a thing to really get your head around.
It's like a brand new brand new vehicle.
Exactly. Our vehicles are moving hotel rooms. There's no way you'd ever want to walk into a hotel room and see a hair.
There's the evidence of the previous guest.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we do. And from a skills development side of things, we haven't really sent our guys on any skills courses per se, but I think there's a lot to learn within our industry and how this type of industry works.
We're a small team. We've got the mechanics, Craig and I, and then we've got Ellie who helps us in the office, and she's only joined us, I think she's been with us 2 months now, so also really new. But I was just chatting to the other director, James, this morning, saying, 2 months in, you've then found your feet in the role, and she's doing really well, and I'd like to get her onto some like digital marketing courses and things like that. But she's done a blog for me, and she's really good at writing, and I'd like to hone those skills and get her doing more blogs and that kind of thing, and get some sort of skills development in there for her, because she's got a knack for it.
You've obviously brought a young person into your business there. Would you encourage other young people to start a career like tourism?
Yes. It is an incredibly rewarding industry, and something, as I said earlier on, it's because people are always so happy. The guests, the customers are happy, whether or not you're running a kayak rental company or a hiking company or a hotel. People are smiling when they come to you, and invariably, if you've done your job right, they're smiling when they've left.
Yeah.
And that's rewarding. That's the perfect, for me, that's the perfect recipe for a happy work home life. You go home, you're not worrying about work, you're actually enjoying the fact that people are out there enjoying themselves.
Yeah. Look, it's without being too negative, it's not all sunshine and roses. And the tourism industry up here is amazing, but we do have a cold winter. So as long as you have factored that in, then definitely, everyone's got to think of what are you going to do with your business through winter, which is a question we're faced with all the time.
Again, we've been talking a lot in our chat today about customer experience. How do you get to know and understand your customers? You've talked about how you might interact with them. How do you get to know your customers?
It's primarily through spending a lot of time talking to them on the phone before they arrive. Cherie and Ellie spend a lot of time conversing with the guests, be it by email or by telephone. And then when they get here, Cherie spends a good part of half an hour poring over this map, talking about all the things that can be done in the area, because they're just absolute sponges. These guests just take everything in, because there's no better source of information than from a local. And I think through these interactions with our guests, that's how we get to know them really well.
A lot of them ask the same questions, and so when we get the same question over and over, I try to convert that answer into a blog, so that when they ask, we can send them to the blog and there's the answer for you. And then, like Craig says, I think our biggest asset, is that the right word, is our interaction with them. We come and sit here in the lounge, we do their paperwork, get the nitty-gritty out the way, and then we go, right, where are you going? Let us help you. And that seems to be our unique selling point, really, that they really, Ellie does a fantastic job, and saying to them, well, what route are you taking? Because everyone wants to know, what route should I take? I don't know, what kind of holiday do you want? Do you want to be hiking? Do you want to be canoeing? Do you want to sit in one campsite? I cannot answer. It's the number one question. What route should I take? Can't answer it, because everybody's holiday requirement is different. But when you come here, we go over your basic idea of where you're headed, and then we guide you along that route. We offer suggestions and recommendations. And that seems to go down really, really well.
And we know nowadays, particularly clients, customers, are driven more by making purchasing decisions that have a positive social or economic or environmental impact. So tell us, what are you doing, what is WildTrax doing to kind of meet the demands of the new conscious consumer?
It's been something that we've just picked up on now, and we haven't picked up on it, but we are very aware of the carbon's escape, but if you do look after it, it also they absorb carbon.
Exactly so, yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, so it's a fantastic thing to get involved with. Definitely that's how.
And do you have any other ideas, any changes that you might plan for the future that might have a positive impact on the planet?
Well, we have considered electric. It's something that it's definitely on our radar. I don't think Scotland is anywhere near ready for it yet in the Highlands and Defenders. but I don't think that'll be for a while. I think what we need to do is continue to monitor the amount of carbons we push out from our vehicles, because it's a very easy number to calculate based on mileage, and continue to make a difference like that. You know, there are, in my opinion, whilst we might be using vehicles to, you know, and we're pushing out carbons, but what we're also doing is introducing people to the beauty of the wilderness. And there in itself, I believe, is a value add to the whole problem. You know, if more people coming from the cities come up here, have a look at it, and have an appreciation for the wildlife and the natural resources we have, more people are going to want to protect that. So, yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners about WildTrax?
I don't know. I think we've just poured our heart out right here.
But there's obviously a lot for people to think about there, and a lot for people to be attracted to. How can listeners to this podcast connect with your business online or in person? Yeah,
I think if they headed over to www.wildtrax.co.uk, that's the best place to get all the information. And if anybody ever wanted to have a conversation with myself or Cherie or James, just drop us an email at hello.
Oh, there you go.
Hello at WildTrax.
The boss knows the address.
Well, finally, this podcast is about the heart and soul of good business. What's at the heart of your business?
Customer service. 100% customer service. Customer service is what makes us happy. It makes customers happy. Gets people coming back here.
I also think, you know, to answer your question slightly earlier, is what we do is we don't sit at the top, or I'm not even at the top, they don't sit at the top and make decisions. We will often have a team meeting and go, right guys, this is what we want to do. What do you think? So our whole team is involved with making decisions and helping the business grow and choosing how we're going to do the flow of returns or departures, whatever it is. So it's not just sort of the top guys sitting there making a decision, this is how it's getting done. We get everybody involved. And that, I think, is really important for us, because we want everyone to feel they've got a say in how they do their job and how they can do it better.
And I also think, you know, to add to that, we live the life that we sell. Yeah. We are adventurous people. We do kayaking, we do fishing, we do walking, and we want people to experience the things that we love, which is why for us this is a success, because we walk the walk, and it makes talking about those adventures so much easier, because you actually know what you're talking about.
Cherie, Craig, thank you very much indeed for telling us about WildTrax.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for coming.